this thing. In all honesty, I had no intention of doing a review on the Orbital sander that Milwaukee just released a couple weeks ago, but this is the 264920 1/4 sheet sander. Well, I was doing a kind of refresh on the stairs in my basement. I was looking for a new Orbital sander that would replace my old one from Milwaukee, but this was actually pretty impressive right out of the box. I usually don't expect much with battery powered Orbital sanders of any kind. It's usually pretty messy. It almost seems like you always have to use some sort of like vacuum to not be completely just clouded if you're in an enclosed area. So one of the reasons why this impressed me, this filter system or the dust collection system, however this works, is fantastic. Really ended up being the reason I even started this video. But in the box you get the Orbital sander itself. It's got a spring latch mechanism on the bottom to put on your quarter sheets, which you can just pick up anywhere basically. Take one of the sanding sheets out, cut it into quarters, and then you will have that dimension that will fit right over. On the front face, it's another spring tension that kind of locks in the paper itself. It folds over to the side, and with the arm open, tuck the paper in, close it, and it locks. They do come with a kind of tray that you can put the sander on with the paper in it to cut it into the same dust collection holes that you'll have there. I ended up putting a stealth mounts, one of these pack out stealth mounts, just kind of drilled to the back of it. It doesn't include that in the kit, but I wanted to hook it up to the pack out wall that I've got and just kind of use it as something I can not lose, hopefully, but just kind of quickly, if I'm in the garage doing anything, hooked it up and punch the holes out I need to. You get the vacuum attachment and dust collector that can fit a broad range. I've found that it works on most rigid, obviously the pack out vacuum stuff, but like the rigid shop vacs, they all fit in there really nice and snug. Never really was an issue before. I've noticed the old model was good with this too. And you'll notice a little bit different or unique kind of latching system that'll go into the back of the exhaust, and a little bit different approach from the previous version, where we had a paper filter inside of a plastic shroud that would collect the dust from the old Orbital sander, to now a spring-loaded kind of paper felt bag that got some use out of, but seems to do really well. So I'll get into that in a second, but this is what comes in the kit. Comparing it to the old, what is this, 2648, I noticed that, and this seems pretty common for other battery-powered, like hand, random orbital sanders or sheet sanders. At a certain point, this becomes a huge problem where you can basically, you can clean these out really well, and it doesn't seem like even replacing the filter matters. At a certain point, there's so much dust, and anything from like fine sanding will create a gap inside of the connection points. Like on the old version here, there's just some like snap-in tabs that actually hold it to this container, and then also on the back of the kind of exhaust port there, that tab, it's not worn out, but I don't know, if you're like just putting a lot of pressure down and weight down, this is just inevitable. And the problem here is that even when this is sealed, and I don't know if you can see that, there's actually some dust that's even stuck in there now. The seal here never was very solid, and I was always getting just a cloud of dust, debris in the air. These just always required a shop vac of some kind, or some sort of small vac. These are good in a pinch, but if you're doing anything large scale, these were pretty much, at least in my experience, known to cause massive problems. So you kind of always had to go with a shop vac, but this is a little different, and I was, of course, skeptical at first, but there's like a spring clasp that has a little hook, and this arm connects into the top of the exhaust on the new one, debris shroud, whatever you call it. There's perforations, sorry, I've used the heck out of this. There's perforations on the top that's kind of tapered in, and that connects the dust collector over it. So this does two things. One, it can move a little bit, so if you're in like situation I was in, using a rigid shop vac, what I was finding myself doing was the the hose to the vacuum was starting to spin around and stuff, and I was trying to get into corners, and this being able to move is kind of a game changer for sure, just on its axis. I thought that was fantastic. The vacuum itself kind of rotates with its the nozzle it has, but this just gave a little bit less of a chance that it was going to break away from the actual extension or connector, whatever you call this. But I thought that was pretty good. But what got me was how little this thing actually, I guess, released after it being even completely filled. And this thing's not flawless. Like, I used it quite a bit. You can see some of the metal spring coming through on the canvas. I don't know if this will last a lifetime. I probably have a good 10 to 20 hours on it right now, but the fact that it has a compressible spring, you can get into tighter corners, that's fantastic. And this does a fantastic job not bleeding or leaking out any of the dust particles coming off the actual sander itself. Even like high grit, low grit, doesn't matter, speed 6. I found a lot of ease of use. I brought the shop back down when I was doing my basement, and I ended up not using it for the fine sanding stuff, as I learned that I didn't need that anymore. So I'll show a little bit of a usage of this thing on some PTL, but really impressive. I really like this. I hope it lasts as long as well, longer than the other one did. I think this is a great design, and I was really impressed with how well it worked. The other really cool feature I found on this was that it kind of has a brake to it. On the old version, it would always just spin and rotate as it was kind of randomly orbiting, and I'd always set it down and, I'd hit my knee or something on some piece of wood I didn't want to have sanded at an angle weirdly. But this one has a brake to it. Really like that. Thank you. I didn't do this out of the box, and I didn't really plan on doing this review, but just in case you wanted to know, without any attachment, and there's definitely some debris and dust in here. This is not out of the box, but tool itself, no sandpaper, 2.57 pounds. We compare that to the old version, 2648. Same thing, no dust collector, 2.47. We add the hose attachment for a vacuum. .76 versus 2.62. These are negligible at this point to me, but the dust collector bag itself, 2.75, and the old version, I hate this adapter. Okay, 2.72. Yep, 2.72. So pretty comparable. Not too bad. But this thing.